A prince's arrogance meets a woman who won't back down, but the real battle is a secret that could change the kingdom forever. Will they survive? Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so to stay updated with the latest Nigerian movies. Today, we're talking about a captivating new Nigerian movie that's more than just entertainment. It's filled with important life lessons you won't want to miss. So, let's get into it. The story begins in a royal palace, where the king scolds his son, Prince ANAN, for lowering his dignity by having an affair with one of the palace maids. Upset by his son's behavior, the king declares a new rule. If Prince ANAN cannot carry himself with dignity, the next king will be chosen through an election. This decision sparks a challenge between the king and the prince, but the real question is, whose word will stand in the end? Meanwhile, the queen is on her way home when a woman catches her attention. Once she arrives home, she too confronts her son for his disgraceful actions, but Prince ANAN shows no remorse. Elsewhere, we are introduced to a young woman named Uzor, who has returned home to her father. She was sent to study by the queen with the intention of eventually marrying Prince ANAN and becoming the next queen. Her father encourages her, believing she is capable of ruling the kingdom wisely. One day, Prince ANAN arrives home drunk. At that same time, Uzor and her father come to the palace to pay their respects to the queen and announce Uzor's return. The queen asks Chidi to call the prince. After a short while, Chidi returns with Prince ANAN, who is visibly intoxicated. Uzor, seeing his condition, becomes concerned and disappointed. She tells the queen that she cannot marry the prince because she deserves better. She storms off, leaving the queen upset. The queen confronts her son again, scolding him for constantly bringing shame to the royal family. She demands that he go and apologize to Uzor or face serious consequences. Then she walks away angrily. Prince ANAN visits Uzor's home but is arrogant and belittles her living conditions. Uzor, however, stands her ground and speaks to him as if he were nobody, then sends him out of her house. After leaving, the prince vows never to apologize to her. Chidi returns to the palace and gives the queen a report about how badly things went between Prince ANAN and Uzor. When the prince comes in, he tells his mother that the engagement with Uzor should be called off because he refuses to marry her. The queen is confused and tries to understand what really happened, but the prince offers no clear explanation. Another day, the prince goes to his usual restaurant with some guests and is surprised to see Uzor there. He tries to get her to leave, but Chidi advises him to let her stay. The prince remains arrogant, gets drunk, and starts misbehaving. Uzor and her friend decide to leave, but before they go, the prince stops Uzor and has a brief conversation with her. She then excuses herself and leaves. Later that day, the prince returns home and firmly tells his mother that he will not marry Uzor. That evening, when the king returns to the palace, the queen complains to him about their son's behavior, saying that he needs his father's guidance. However, the king shows no interest in the discussion, not even about the proposed marriage to Uzor. Disappointed, the queen walks away. The next day, the queen visits Uzor and tries to persuade her to consider marrying Prince ANAN, but Uzor explains that the prince does not have the qualities she desires in a man. Both Uzor's father and the queen remain silent after hearing her speak her mind. That night, the queen is in tears as she thinks about a suggestion made to her by a nurse, a drastic idea to switch her child with another woman's in order to have a daughter and save her marriage. She seriously considers the idea, but the real question is, what will happen when her husband and Prince ANAN find out the truth? The following day, the queen returns to Uzor and pleads with her to come live in the palace for just 2 months. She promises that if things don't work out between her and the prince, she will be free to leave. Uzor agrees and also makes her own request, which the queen accepts. The queen then informs her son about Uzor's upcoming stay in the palace. Although he doesn't see a future with her, he agrees to obey his mother's wishes. The next day, Uzor arrives at the palace. When Prince ANAN sees her, they exchange harsh words. The queen arrives, welcomes Uzor warmly, while the prince walks away, saying the plan won't succeed. Uzor is then shown to her room. The queen offers Uzor the opportunity to manage the affairs of the palace for the next 2 months. She even encourages her to make changes if necessary. Uzor is deeply honored and expresses her gratitude. The queen takes her on a tour of the entire palace. Now that Uzor is going to be in charge of palace affairs, the big question remains: will everything turn out well, or will it all end in disaster? Stay tuned and let's find out together. That evening, the queen announced to everyone that Uzor would be in charge of the royal household. When she gave the prince some responsibilities based on his qualifications, he dismissed her words and left. Uzor then told Chidi to stay because he would be in charge of the kitchen affairs. When Lydia wanted to object, Uzor gave her a different responsibility, and the meeting was then dismissed. Later in the palace, Lydia, who did not support Uzor, spoke rudely and insisted she would never submit to Uzor's leadership. Although other staff warned her about the consequences of her attitude, Lydia ignored them and walked away. Uzor was busy with records and calculations when Prince Ahan came looking for Chidi. Chidi told the prince to follow him for a stroll, but he explained that he could not leave because of the new restructuring. He also mentioned how much he loved working in the kitchen before walking away. Prince Ahan was angry about this. When he tried to threaten Uzor, she replied with words that made him look foolish, surprising the other maidens who were watching. The next day, during breakfast, the king made a strict order. No one should prepare meals for the prince if he missed the scheduled meal times, or they would be fired. This rule was suggested by Uzor. Later, the queen held a meeting with Uzor to discuss how she had spoken disrespectfully about the prince in the king's presence. Uzor apologized, but explained her intention was to make the prince understand that things would not always go his way and that life did not revolve around him. She hoped this would change the prince's attitude. Otherwise, she would refuse to marry him. A few hours later, the prince requested his meal, but Chidi and Lydia told him about the new rule. He became furious and went straight to Uzor to confront her about it. She firmly told him that the rules would stand as long as she was in charge. Then she left. Prince Ahan complained to his father about how rude Uzor was to him and declared he would not marry her. However, the king told him that he was a disgrace and must marry her no matter what, then left. Now, think about it. Do you believe Prince Ahan's parents are handling this situation the right way? Do you think marriage should be forced, or should children always obey their parents? Let's keep watching to find out, but please share your thoughts. That night, while Uzor was busy with her work, Prince Ahan walked past her with a maiden, sharing an intimate moment. Uzor complained about this to the queen. The queen came to see her and told her she could leave if she felt the marriage wouldn't work. But the queen persuaded Uzor to stay and keep to their agreement. The queen later confronted her son about his childish behavior, insisting that Uzor would stay and that he would regret it. The prince was indifferent, saying there were many women, and arrogantly dismissed his mother, claiming he knew everything. The next day, the queen held a meeting with all the maidens, warning them that anyone caught having an affair with the prince would face serious consequences. She specifically warned Lydia. Even after the meeting ended, the queen pulled Lydia aside to warn her again. Lydia then confronted Uzor, but Uzor told her she could have the prince to herself because he was not worth her time or attention. She spoke badly about the prince. Meanwhile, Prince Ahan was listening nearby. Later, Prince Ahan told Chidi that he would make sure Uzor knew she was not worthy of him. He planned to cause trouble, knowing he had the power to do so. Days later, while the queen was meeting with her friend's son named Leo, Uzor arrived. She was excited to see Leo because they had known each other for a long time. Prince Ahan, who saw Leo, was not happy. Uzor took Leo outside to talk while the queen expressed her happiness about Leo, mentioning that he managed many things and would stay in the palace for some time. Uzor and Leo were spending time together when Prince Ahan came and tried to pull Uzor away, warning her to stay away from Leo. Uzor told him to leave her alone because she did not belong to him and was not a child. The next day, the queen and Uzor talked about Leo. The queen asked if Uzor had a romantic relationship with him at school, but Uzor said they were just friends. The queen was worried, fearing they might fall in love, which she did not want. The following day in the kitchen, Uzor, Leo, and Chidi were enjoying their time together when Prince Ahan interrupted them. He forcefully warned Uzor to stay away from Leo while she refused and walked away. Later that day, Prince ANAN asked Uzor to join him for lunch. He insisted, and she agreed, but told him to wait for her at the restaurant because she had some things to finish first. At the restaurant, Uzor arrived with Leo for the lunch invitation from Prince ANAN, who had a meeting with her. Because ANAN was known for taking other men's girlfriends, Uzor warned Leo about him before they sat down to eat. Chidi later told Prince ANAN the honest truth when he asked. Uzor would only listen to him if he took himself seriously. Leo did not joke about his business despite his young age. But the prince did nothing about this. Chidi advised him to be serious, warning that he might lose Uzor for good if he did not change. Guys, looking at how things are going, will the prince become serious in his actions? If you were the prince, what would be your next step? One day, Uzor and Leo were going to the factory to check on some things, but the prince arrived and insisted that Leo step back so he could go with Uzor. She was very shocked by this. The next morning, the prince came down early for breakfast, surprising everyone in the house. They all wondered what had changed in him. He insisted on following his father's example, and they enjoyed the meal together. That evening, while Uzor was working on some calculations and information, Prince ANAN came in and insisted on helping her so she could rest. The next morning, Uzor woke the prince up, and he apologized to her for his past wrongdoings. Uzor was surprised by his new behavior and appreciated him. Then they went to their rooms. Days later, the king came home with his son and gave positive feedback about a recent meeting. He praised how the prince addressed pending issues with good solutions. ANAN's parents were proud of him. Later that day, ANAN told Uzor about how his mother needed a child badly. When he was born, his grandmother spoiled him and gave him everything he wanted, which shaped his behavior. But he thanked Uzor for making him the man he had become. While Uzor tried to explain that she belonged to no man, Prince ANAN kissed her, and they enjoyed a tender moment together. The next morning, Prince ANAN checked on Uzor, who was not feeling well. He prepared a meal for her, which surprised her. As they shared the moment, Leo came to check on Uzor and heard the news, but ANAN became protective of her. Weeks later, while Prince ANAN and Uzor were walking, Leo came to inform them that he would be leaving due to business that required his presence. The prince told Leo that when he returned, it would be for his wedding. Leo left, and Uzor told ANAN that Leo was a good man. The prince then claimed Uzor as his and agreed to be the man she needed as their relationship grew stronger. One day, Lydia came to the palace, breaking palace rules. The queen arrived and dismissed Lydia and another maiden. Later, Lydia's mother threatened the queen, saying her daughter must marry the prince or she would expose secrets. The queen called the guards to remove her. Lydia's mother then revealed that Prince ANAN was not the biological son of the queen and king. The prince overheard this and called off the guards. She explained how she and the queen had conspired to switch her female child with another woman's child in the hospital. The prince told his father, who was very angry but said nothing. The prince expressed his hurt. Uzor tried to speak to him, but he did not listen and walked away. The queen ran after him to plead. Now that it is revealed ANAN is not the biological son of the king and queen, will he still remain prince? And will Uzor still marry him? Let's find out. The king scolded his wife and expressed his anger. It was a difficult moment for him, but he insisted that ANAN was still his son. He told the queen that if Uzor did not marry ANAN, their marriage would be over. The queen admitted her wrong and begged for forgiveness. After Uzor's 2 months in the palace ended, she returned home and told her father the news about ANAN, which caused him to faint. ANAN was restless in his room, unsure about what the future held. One day, Uzor came to check on the prince, who had not left his room for days. When he heard her voice, he was happy to see her. She told him she had come to stay. She encouraged and motivated him while he struggled with negative thoughts. They professed their love for each other as time passed. On this important day, Uzor's father came to plead with the king about what had happened. The king gave his blessings for ANAN and Uzor to marry. He also assured ANAN that he would remain the crown prince of the kingdom. The king joined them together as husband and wife. However, he did not say a word to his wife, whose actions had gone too far. This movie teaches us to be serious about ourselves and not to let opportunities slip away because of careless behavior. As a married couple, don't pressure your spouse because their reaction later may be hurtful when the truth comes out. Let love guide your actions, not emotions. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more interesting updates on the latest Nigerian movies. See you next time.